this is a spotlight on one of our support groups that's operating in Bristol. I'm going to let them speak for themselves about what their group is about and what they actually do. But Shaz has been a group leader with us for quite a number of years and has helped out the charity in a couple of different roles as well. Now, this activity that we're doing now is all about trying to bring a spotlight onto support groups and showing how they can help people and what they're there for, and encourage people to go along to them, and also perhaps start their own group, whether that be just a small coffee group or whether that be something that grows into a group that's been going for a number of years. So what I would like to do is to hand over to Shaz. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the group and how it started.
Okay, so my name is Shaz and I've run Bristol Fibromyalgia ME CFS support group since, well, it started in 2010, just me and a friend meeting for coffee and then from in January 2011, that's when we publicised that we were meeting for coffee, me and my friend, and then we got a larger group come to that particular coffee morning. And the group has then just grown from there, really. So we eventually found, after a lot of compromising and, researching, we found a room run by Bristol City Council. So they've allowed us to have the room pretty much since 2013 for free. So we don't pay any costings for that. But what we do, if we put in for funding, then we will like to run courses and things like that. Or if we want to, we bought and earn and that out of funding, and we allow the other service users to use those facilities. So so it's about being able to share, and not being controlling, if that's outside of the group as well, because that helps for the group to grow, for members to come along, because they feel that freedom's there as well. And yeah, so we've been running the group from Westcott Community Room since 2013, wasn't it? And what we do is each session that I run is the last 10 minutes is an evaluation side of it. So we'll evaluate what happened in that session, and through that evaluation process, we will then decide how the group moves forward. Those issues will then say, if somebody chooses a specific speaker, we will then go and I will try and find a specific speaker. And Gaina, who's here, is also a group member, but she's also become a part of the management committee and has become secretary. So you try to find, now just recently you started finding speakers for us, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And the group's grown. We're starting to get new members purely because now we've got, in our local area, we've got social prescribers, which are adjacent to the doctors. So through the social prescribers, I'm doing more support calls, and more people are starting to show an interest. And I think also because when I first went down with fibromyalgia, I was diagnosed in 2003. I think it took me up until 2010 to come to that point where I was able to physically be out and doing stuff in the community. And from there, that then took us into kind of looking for ways that fibromyalgia just wasn't really recognised, not in the community, not by doctors, not even by the members of the community. And those of us that suffered with it were very, very isolated at the time and feeling very, very alone. So a part of the journey that I've been on is being able to promote what fibromyalgia is within the community, but with the social prescribers now being on board, it's become that part of the role has become a lot easier, because we're now getting referrals from GPs. In September, I am actually hoping to go into their GP's coffee mornings within my surgeries, in order to promote the group and in order to let them know that what we're doing, so that they have that face-to-face contact, and that face-to-face contact will then, they'll see, you know, they have that connection with a human being rather than just a piece of paper, and that does make a big difference. It makes a huge difference.
Very much so. I mean, it sounds as if you started from a couple of people getting together to have a coffee to now moving through advocacy and self-representation to actually working with clinical services. And the social prescribing is something that it's growing. It's something that's still relatively new. It was started by a GP in the first place about how to supplement local services and provide the support that people need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say it wasn't too far away from you. Yeah. I actually met the chap up well, there was a conference in Scotland. I can't remember his name. We had a good conversation about it. But yeah, it's really good that facility is now interacting with
well, it was
charities.
By reading the book about the Compassionate Project, that was where because you know, from our group, the friendship groups developed, and that's through the surgery as well. So, and that is just about people meeting for coffee, playing games, and being able to connect as friends rather than as conditions as well. So that's another side of what's grown out of the Bristol Fibromyalgia group as well, which is a good thing in some respects. So yeah.
I mean, there's so much to be said for whether it's one of those meetings with GPs, just to have fibromyalgia talked about and our own perspective represented there, because GPs deal with a lot of conditions, and if they don't know how it's affecting people within their community, they can't really tailor things. They can't adjust for it. And yeah, there's sometimes services, resources that are available within a CCG or an NHS trust that a GP isn't aware of. And sometimes we are in that position where we can tell them, and that benefits the next person and the person after that. So it's really important what you're doing. So yeah. It's also, I've obviously interacted with you, Shaz, over a number of years as well. And yeah, the group has grown, but there's still that, I'm sure you'll get that effect that when a new person comes along, and I wouldn't say their face lights up, but or it perhaps relaxes in the fact that they have that affirmation moment, that time where they can just see they're not alone anymore. It's not all in their head, and this support group has got people that have been there before, that perhaps have knowledge or resources that might be able to help them. But again, they're not alone. I take it you see that quite a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening now, isn't it? Because of the social prescribing, we've got older members that have been coming really since the beginning. I mean, you know, we got. Definitely. And so they've been a part of the process of the group, and then we've got the newbies coming in, and they're a lot younger now as well. To when you know, when I started the group, you know, they're even younger again. And it's really interesting, the differences in lifestyles, the differences in backgrounds, the differences in understanding, the differences in the roles that, you know, their role in the world that they're in, and how that is actually bringing and just it's kind of like really enriching the group, isn't it?
It is.
It's enriching it really well, because I have to think, as a group leader, I have to constantly be thinking now outside of the box, because, and you know, how am I going to incorporate a 60-year-old and a 30-year-old into the group? You know, how am I going to incorporate somebody with grandchildren and somebody that with a child at age 3? You know, and it's like, how do you do that? How, and help them to manage and learn to self-manage their medical condition in order to have quality of life. You know, that's the most important thing. It is all about quality of life, you know, and it's so I'm you know, it keeps me on my toes. And as a management committee, we're having to think outside the box as well. And I think so. What things that we've brought into the group is like doing courses like mindfulness. So we done. In 2019, we done a mindfulness course, and on Saturday, next Sunday, sorry, we're going to be doing a mindful retreat, and we're also as a group now looking at doing putting in for funding for like a week-long retreat as well around mindfulness. In order, because it's not always about taking painkillers. It's not always about, you know, it's sometimes finding a way forward into learning to manage your long-term health condition, is to be able to be responsible yourself, and how and what's going on, how your thought and is affecting your secondary pain, and then rather than your primary pain that is actually caused by the condition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose clinically they talk about it in the biopsychosocial model, and the fact that your environment and what's going on inside you, etc., can have a great effect on how you interpret that physical pain that you're feeling. And it can sometimes get a little bit confusing, and sometimes it can get controversial as well, because we get back into that conversation about, is the pain in your head, are you imagining it, etc., which is not what we're talking about. But it's a complicated conversation to have. And what you'll probably find, I'm guessing, is that, yeah, people have to be in the right frame of mind. It needs to be the right time in their journey, as you sort of alluded to as your start of your journey, that you need to get to a certain point before you can do something.
Yeah, I done a course when I was first diagnosed, and to be honest with you, the course, I mean, don't get me wrong, the course was a good course, and it was a very, you know, it was a very well respected course. But the thing was, I wasn't ready. I wasn't in the right place to be able to do that course. I mean, I eventually went on to deliver a similar course, and that for another organisation, and being able to do that, I actually, because I took the course first and then went on to delivery and that, but when I took the course, because it was a few years later, I learned to understand what my symptoms, I learned to understand what was going on for me. I used, a part of that process was journaling and writing out how, you know, those negative feelings about my pain, about the way my pain affected me and that sort of thing. And then also using, doing, you know, turning to, you know, setting up gratitude pages and positive affirmation pages and doing them every morning has helped me to maintain my mental health especially when I'm in a very bad place and the pain, you know, I've gone and done an activity and that activity has caused a major flare. You know, they're the things that get me through, journaling it out, and you know, you have to be, I think it is a case, you have to be in the right place to be able to do those things. And as a group leader, I have to be patient with my clients, because I practice what I preach. I don't just turn around and say to them, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. I'm on that journey with them. I'm taking that journey, the same steps that they're taking. And because I'm doing that, they pick up on the changes in my well-being that can obviously help them in their well-being. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I really appreciated that you said there is that when you're not at your best, or when you're having a bad time, because yeah, we're doing this, we're interacting with each other, and we've got a positive face on things. We're talking about how we can do things better as a group, but we still have fibromyalgia. We still have our bad days. When this camera's not on, when it's working even, and we have those days that we perhaps still don't get out of bed, or we have to challenge ourselves to get to the end of the day. So it is a challenge, but at the end of the day, if you've done something good during that day, that's something to recognize that you have managed to do, and it's something to think about the next time when you perhaps are having a challenge to try and get to another point where you have a positive
and the
outcome.
great thing, I think the great thing about doing gratitude pages and positive affirmation pages, you can go back and look over them, and you know, one of the things I've also done is I've bought a plaque, and on the plaque it says smile, and that's the first thing I see in the mornings, so that when I wake up, no matter if I'm having a bad day, I always see this plaque with smile on it, and then that's what I do, I smile. And it's a positive way to start the day, regardless of how I'm feeling.
And there's different things that work for different people, but it's about having that larger toolkit, and that's what a group can sometimes do. These are the tools that we have available. These are the speakers that we have available, the library books, the resources, etc. Find something that works for you. This works for me. Find something that works for you, and that's what a support group can be. There is that sort of bank of information and people that can lend support when it's required. So Yeah, it sounds very effective what you're doing, and quite well structured as well. So that's always good. I was going to ask as well, is there a particular story or member contribution that sort of gives an example of how the group has managed to help someone else?
Well, we have one lady actually, and when she first came, it was about 5 years ago, and she was very quiet, very withdrawn. She had very little self-confidence, self-esteem. You know, self-worth it was kind of rock bottom really where she was. She was in a very, you know, for her, it was a very dark place as an observer, I would say. But over the years, this particular woman actually, at our last session, she has absolutely blossomed. She actually took the initiative to put another group member in their place, and I know that sounds awful, but you know, they said something that was untoward, so, and she, you know, she sorted it out, and she, you know, 5 years ago there is no way, she was a mouse, you know, there is no way she would have spoken out and, you know, and verbally said what she was feeling at that moment in time. I mean, I mean, it's took her 5 years to get to that point, but that is through where she's grown. She's become, you know, a valid member. You know, she helps with finances. She helps, you know, setting up the group. She does a lot, you know, behind the scenes, don't she?
She does.
And if we want, the other thing that she likes doing, and we've supported that process, is she likes to make cards. So if it's somebody's birthday, I'll contact her and say, oh, it's such and such a member's, you know, it's their birthday this month, can you do a card? And then we'll get it signed in group by everybody, and then we can give, you know, send it out to them, or, you know, and that sort of thing. The other thing that we do in terms of structure is certain times of year we do shared meals. So it's a bring and share. So like, and that could be like January, December is definitely one, and then usually our summer break we have a shared meal as well. So there's generally 3 during the course of a year as well.
So, sounds good. And you talking about standing up to someone else, just, well, making their presence known, for example. Yeah, that is something that's very significant, because we've had volunteers within the office or on the helpline, and when you see somebody progress, hit a milestone, it's very positive for you as the observer to see it. It shows that you're doing something right. But it could be being comfortable answering the phone or taking a support call on the phone to somebody else that's able to do that. Yeah, that's nothing. But if they weren't able to actually pick up the phone and say hello prior to that, and over 6 months have managed to get to that point where they're now providing support to others, that's a massive milestone for someone. So everybody has different milestones that they hit and different progressions that they make, and they're all positive when they manage to do something that, yeah, they can be proud of, definitely. So it's good to hear that that's happening. You mentioned there about activities that the sort of the meals, etc. Is there any other activities that you've done as a group that have been quite noteworthy?
Oh, we've gone to Weston. This was funded as well, wasn't it? When we went that time, we went to Weston and we had afternoon tea in some posh hotel, which was good fun, wasn't it? What else have we done? We've the Hippodrome, Bristol Hippodrome. We've acquired funding for that. I mean, Awards for All have been absolutely brilliant in providing that funding. So yeah, we've gone to the cinema, so we've got that to look forward to, because the event that we were going to that happened, that we couldn't go to during COVID for obvious reasons. So we're looking forward to this year's pantomime. And then we'll go, and then afterwards we'll go for a meal. We haven't decided where we're going to go yet, but we'll find somewhere in the city to go to and have something to eat together, and that'll be our last session.
Okay.
As well, till next year.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds brilliant. It really does sound, from what you said at the start, that even finding a venue that you're giving back to the rest of the community, it sounds as if you are interacting and integrating with your local community and providing a service that's not only worthwhile and useful, but actually welcome to anybody that wants to attend. And you can't really, I mean, the idea of, some people won't even think about applying to the likes of Awards for All for funding because of they see it as a task that's too much work or beyond them, etc. And doing that on a regular basis is no small feat. So, but it allows you to then do more, but you have to be accountable for what you're doing. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it's all a big challenge, but it's a challenge that shows that you're actually progressing and making a difference.
I think that's the importance of the management committee, though, because those certain activity, certain issues like, applying for funding can be shared between the team in order to be able to, for that process to happen. So it doesn't always land on just one person as well. I think that's important, that, if you've got a treasurer, secretary and the group facilitator, working together along with management committee members and just asking them to do, say, one task in order to complete that funding bid, that works really well as well. So it doesn't land just on me as a group facilitator. It's because obviously I've got the condition too, so I need that support. And we support each other. I think that's the importance. We've learned over the years that the importance, nobody decides until the group decides, and everybody is a part of that process. It's really, really important that there's equality within the group, no matter what the age range, no matter where you are within your journey, and that I think the importance of equality and being in a non-judgmental environment, is the best policy, really, to help the group grow and survive.
Yeah, you're ticking all the boxes of my little internal checklist for having a successful group. Really is the idea of having what sounds like a lot, maybe not too large a management committee, but beyond the usual three, so that you can help support each other and provide experience as well as time and energy when it's required, when somebody's feeling a little bit low. And yeah, letting the group decide. If it's something difficult that you have to, it could be whether to have a meeting in a particular place. If the group then has that decision to make, then it's the group's decision, not Shazzy's decision, and then Shazzy's fault when it doesn't
my role
doesn't
is
work
to
out.
facilitate, not to rule. Yes,
no, that is a really important thing to have as part of a group structure, and it's really good to hear. So yeah, I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else that you think is significant about your group that makes it stand out or is worthwhile mentioning?
Okay.
Well, when I came to group, I found it to be very open and friendly, non-judgmental, and I think that was important, the support that you get, because you go to a group, you don't know who's going to be there. It's quite nerve-wracking to go and say what's wrong, and where you are within your journey. But I find the group to be very supportive, non-judgmental.
Do you have more friends as a result of coming along to this meeting?
Yes,
on a regular basis?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And people that, it's nice to talk to people that understand, because although you've got, some people have got support from family and other friends, unless you actually got this, they don't get it. People just don't get it, and it's nice to go somewhere where you can just be yourself and people understand.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
How are you doing? Fine. And you understand what you're both saying there, because there's a subtext to whenever you say I'm fine, because you're not feeling great, but you can't be bothered saying the whole long blabber about what's actually going on with you at that moment in time. So
I think we know by a look, don't we? Like group members will walk in and I'll just know by their body language where they are. Do you know what I mean? On that particular day, they don't even have to say a word. And I think they're the same with me as well. They know if I'm having a bad day, and I mean, we do have a laugh over my words coming out wrong, and my spelling. Because I can't spell. Well, I can spell. I can't spell. You know what I mean? So that can be a bit of a laugh when we're scribing. As well. And then I'm going. I know how to spell that, but you're gonna have to spell it for me.
And that's to be embraced, not to be afraid of.
Shaz, really, when you first come to the group, you know, she just makes everybody feel welcome.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that we do on set about that is that when we do get a new member, we offer them the floor. So we will say, I will give them that opportunity, whether it's in the first session or whether it's in, when they've built up a little bit of confidence, they will be offered that opportunity to share where they are on their journey and who they are and how. And one of the questions would be, well, what do you want to get from the group? How can we as a group support you and stuff? And then that gives us that feedback as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To work together to be able to help integrate that individual into the group.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to another group recently, and one of the things they were mentioning is if you have the same group of people that come all the time, or there's not anybody new, then you'll have that a conversation that might not actually be much to do with fibromyalgia. It's just because you're friends and you, how are you doing to a certain extent. But if a new person comes along, then the group changes, because it's then, right, that's somebody that needs to be not only introduced to the group, but we're going to ask them how they're doing, what do they want to get from the group, what do they want to know about fibromyalgia from the perspective of the group. And it's just interesting, the group dynamic changes depending on what the group needs to do for that meeting. And it sounds that's quite similar with yourselves as well. Yeah. No, it's what I think I'll wrap up for us now, unless there's anything else. But it's been brilliant to be able to chat to you, and Shaz, great to be able to see you in person as well. And it's, I know we've been involved with the charity and fibromyalgia and organising activities or supporting other people for quite a long time. And one of the things I always reflect on is, in my time involved with the charity, awareness has improved. The situation with fibromyalgia has definitely improved. For people that come to the community recently, or there perhaps is not that same perspective, and some people say, oh, it's terrible, it's whatever, but there has definitely been a positive change. It's nowhere near where it needs to be, so let's be realistic, but it's definitely through groups, through people that are involved, we're making a difference. What do you think to that?
I honestly believe that. I mean, I can see the changes. I mean, just within our little remit itself, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I live north side, and my GP practice, our GP practice has, I mean, they're really starting to embrace it. They're really starting to, it's not just fibromyalgia, they're starting to embrace being open and working with the community and working with community groups. And again, I think one of the upsetting side of things is the lack of finances that goes into the third sector. So people like us, we don't get financed. Do you know what I mean? Like the hospitals and primary care and stuff, and even secondary care gets more than what the third sector do. But I think it is important that even though what we do is voluntary, what we do is little, and it's not, we can't do loads all at once. I mean, I'd love to do this every day of the week. I can do it once a week if I'm lucky, depending on where I am with my condition. But it's worth the effort. It's worth the consequences. It's worth the flare. It's worth, do you know what I mean? Being able to help people and support people that are, because I'm so far along the journey. Being able to help somebody start that journey and watch them grow is just amazing. It's just I don't know how to explain. I can't put it into words because there's no words for it.
No, totally get it. And it's good to see how people have also progressed along that path, that journey, not only with their individual care, but with those that are advocating on behalf of the condition as well in the community. There's been so many people that have tread this path before us and will tread it after us, that all you can do is try and leave it better than you found it. And I think that's what support groups are very good at doing, helping in an individual level, but also helping within their community, which it sounds as if you're doing a tremendous job of doing. So I think on that note, I'll say thank you for giving us a spotlight on your group. And you'll be able to see details after this video about getting in contact with Shaz and her group. But thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity, Des. It's been pleasure.
Yeah.